under such a big sort of like a political pressure. So it is just kind of like people are showing how much respect, especially people in Tibet. Like we have so much respect and devotion to Master Tsongkhapa. And like when we actually see how much commemoration and remembering the kindness of Lama Tsongkhapa for his spiritual sort of like offering, or his spiritual deeds that actually helped the people of Tibet for their, spiritual development, especially to understand the teaching of the Buddhas. And so it is kind of like, I think many of you have seen some of the photos that I have shared on Facebook. And so I got these, some photos from Tibet. So I thought, I will share so that you will see like how much Gande Ngamju means for Tibetan. And so it was kind of double, kind of like a anniversary yet, yesterday, right, December 10. And so we had a wonderful, so this is so kind of like our actually master series on life of Tsongkhapas, actually kind of like very timely, right? So we are actually today gathered here, and so I see we are all here. So today, actually, I don't know, maybe there will be some internet interruption because Wi-Fi is not actually connecting. So I'm actually using just phone connection, so network from the phone. So so I was trying to connect the Wi-Fi, and then it just kept saying not network on Wi-Fi. So I don't know if it will, how long we will survive. So anyway, so it looks like we are all here. And so my greetings from India, Melissa Smith, Tashidelek, and Susan Hashberger, Tashidelek, Susan. And then I see Lauren, Tashidelek, Lauren. Your background is you have a lot of car coming. Like you are in the middle of the road. And then Parwa, Tashidelek Parwa. And Ernie and Regula, Tashidelek, Ernie and Regula. And then I see Kayla and David, Tashidelek, Kayla and David. Kayla, wonderful tanka. You know, congratulations on your Parnashawari tanka. You completed on December 2, right? So that's an amazing work. And Luann, Tashidelek Luann. All right, so then I will go into the next screen. Tien, Tashidelek Tien. And then Mary, Tashidelek Mary. And then I see Dennis Well, Tashidelek Dennis. And Dennis Shaver, Dennis Sue Shaver, Tashidelek Dennis. And Michelle Nguyen, Michelle Tashidelek. And then I see Ninju, Tashidelek Ninju, Namaskaram. And then I see Geshe Las, Geshe Namgyel, and Geshe Losang, Tashidelek. And Sean and Otto. Tashidelek, Otto, and Sean. And then I see Alex, Tashidelek, Alex. And Michael Gray, the Gray. Tashidelek. And Brenda, Tashidelek, Brenda. And Peter Goodman, Peter, Tashidelek, Peter. And Bob White, Bob, Tashidelek, Bob. And Michael Deanan, Michael, Tashidelek, Michael. And Phil, Tashidelek, Phil. And Margie, Tashidelek, Margie. Yeah. And then I think Donna Tash and Ira should be there. So your video is not showing. And last time you were a little sick. I hope that you are better. And all right. So we are all here today, everybody. And so I hope you are keeping yourself stay and warm, like safe and warm, right? So December is a very cold month everywhere, in America, I think. And so we will actually begin our master series on Master Tsongkhapa's life. And this some of the prayers that we actually do with Master Tsongkhapa, we also, this is one of the prayer that we do is Nai Lama Tsongkhapa te Ganden ne sam dewa chela so tawe shinkam kana shujaru daso koke toma kewar show, like in our daily basis we all pray like that too, and that is wonderful to pray, like most Tibetan who are the followers of Lama Tsongkhapa, we pray like that. So what is that means is Nai Lama Tsongkhapa te means my, Nai means my, Lama means guru, Tsongkhapa is the name, right, of the Samgul Lama Tsongkhapa. Nai Lama Tsongkhapa te Ganden nesam Dewachen la sok means Ganden means Tushita, you know, wherever he actually reside, whether it is Ganden or any other pure land, Sukawati, Ganden nesam Dewachen la sok Tabe Shinkam Kana Shugaru. So wherever he reside, that is the pure land. And may I always be there, you know, and life after life. So, you know, even this life, you know, like we are actually sort of like we are with the Lama Tsongkhapa, because we are, actually we have an access to his teaching, right? His, as Lama Tsongkhapa said, people, even though you don't meet me in person, I have written these two syntheses, Lamrin Chemo and Ngalrin Chemo, and you should study this and just kind of put all the things that I said in the Lamrim and Ngarim into practice. And even if I meet you in person, I don't have any more than, I don't have any more thing to say than that. So that was pretty clear, right? So somehow, wherever the Lamrim and Ngarim and his teachings prevails, there is the presence of the Lama Tsongkhapa. So just kind of like, the place wherever we are right now, we should look at is as we are in Pure Land. And it is like sometime, our kind of like a conceptual mind always think that Pure Land is somewhere far and kind of like, something kind of like somewhere in the sky or some like buried in the kind of Himalaya or surrounded by the kind of like a snow mountain and or like sometimes we think that to go to Pure Land we have to go on the spaceship or we always kind of think that Pure Land is somewhere very far, or some people think that to be able to go to Pure Land they have to die, like we kind of sometimes think like that. But good news, truth is, we are already in the Pure Land. So that is something that we should, maybe somehow in the previous life, we have made a prayer saying, same prayer like, may I be able to, kind of like, may I be able to be there wherever Master Tsongkhapa is. And somehow, during this lifetime, our prayers got answered. Our, actually prayer got fulfilled. So because we prayed in our past life, and that is why we met with Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching. And so just kind of like we should rejoice and rejoice for kind of like appreciate for our past life, whoever, wherever we were. So they did a pretty good job, right? I think they did like whatever form we were in the past life. I think that being did immense of effort. I think it is not easy to be able to experience what are we experiencing this very lifetime, because it is kind of like sometimes our mind sort of like overlook our situation. It is just like our ego will sort of like always trick us, saying that this is not right place. It is like this is not the right time. The right place and the right time is somewhere in the future. Like it will kind of make us chase that. So I think it is very important as a spiritual practitioner, we should appreciate, our past lives for what they created for us right now. And this present life, we should appreciate our situation, like how fortunate we are. It's just kind of like, even if I don't talk it from a Dharma point of view, it's just kind of like just simple, like a human being situation. Our situation is very good comparing to some situation in the past, right? Like a first century or before first century, and then like a medieval time. And so just kind of like, even we don't have to go very far, look at last century. We are on the 21st century, and some of us, we are from the last century, right? We were kind of like, I was born in 60s. So, we kind of, or most of us are around that era. And so like, how much kind of like, how much difficult situation, those days, right? And like lots of war, like in the beginning of 20th century, like World War, first, then World War second, and then during the Hitler regime, and then, during the Mao Zedong regime, and so much war and situation, difficult situation we saw. And then if we go back into before that, 18th century, 17th century, like from the convenience point of view, and from also healthcare point of view, it's not so kind of like it's not so good as this, right? It is kind of like to be able, even like during the time of Lama Tsongkhapa, like when he wrote something, like even to get access to the text that he has written, I think you have to go through so much hardship just to acquire like a text, like like Lama Tsongkhapa wrote Lamrim and Ngarim, and so many people, even in Tibet, even if even the Master Tsongkhapa was living in Lhasa, and so there's like can you imagine how many people there will be in Lhasa that time, population, but among like maybe like 100,000, maybe more than 100,000 population, but few people, right? Handful of people have an access to Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching, and some of them, like even though they are not in person with the Lama Tsongkhapa, they might get a copy of their text, and so when they get the copy of those texts, like so how much value they will put, like how much value, like just kind of like so sometimes we have so much access to all the teachings and all the, what do you call, the blessings, and so I think if we don't appreciate, if we don't acknowledge, then it will go waste, right? It is just kind of like if we keep saying that okay, so I am like not in a very good situation, somewhere in the future, may I be born in the Pure Land. May I meet with the Buddha. May I meet with the Lama Tsongkhapa. Right? Even if we meet with the Lama Tsongkhapa, even if we meet with the, Buddha himself, even like all the deities, even the Manjushri or even Cheresi, even Vajrapani come right in front of us. I don't know if we remain how we are with our attitude, like how much value we are going to put, what do you think? Just imagine if Manjushri come right in front of you, what are you gonna do? Right? It's like I think our ordinary mind, very judgmental mind, I think will get scared. Right? It's just like it's just kind of like it is like like what is this? And then some sort of like suspicious will come, right? It's just kind of like is this something, or is it just some kind of alien, or is it like a ghost, or is it like a devil, or is it really there to help me? Or then sometimes our mind will just question like, am I okay? And am I having some sort of like a delusion, or am I like maybe I'm sick? Right? So like so many things will kind of like stir up our mind, and it is just kind of like we will be not able to totally open. So just kind of like in an ideal case, even if something like that happens, right? So so sometimes we need to kind of like appreciate what we have done in the past life and what we are experiencing. So that is why whenever I do this prayer, Ngai Lama Tsongkhapa te kanden nesam te wachen la so tabe shinga kana shu ya no taso kurke tuma ke wa sho. So it is just like I always look at I am among the student. I am in the presence of Lama Tsongkhapa. So it is like I am in the presence of Lama Tsongkhapa. So my prayer is not like I'm not in the presence of Lama Tsongkhapa. May I be, in the not like that. I am in the presence of Lama Tsongkhapa. May I always maintain that. May I always, maintain that. May I always kind of like realize that. So that is my prayer. When I pray like that, it is like I always pray like, may I realize that something, this is the most kind of like a difficult thing is we don't realize. We don't realize that we are in the presence of Lama Tsongkhapa. And so that is like we can actually put that kind of like a wisdom also like, we like, may I achieve enlightenment. It is not like enlightenment is somewhere that, far away. It is kind of like we need to, realize. We need to realize that, we have a Buddha nature, right? We have a Buddha nature with us. So we just need to, realize it. So the presence of the Buddha, presence of your Guru, presence of the Lama Tsongkhapa, presence of your deity, always with us. So when we pray, it is like praying, not like I am not there, so that is why I want it, not like that. So it is, like putting value on what you have, and with that value, if you put a value on what you have, and because I really value it, because I admire this, because I am inspired for the potential that I have, make it. Make this potential manifest. So that is kind of like a one thing, like even when we do this kind of prayer, may I be born, may I be there, wherever Master Tsongkhapa. So when we say wherever Master Tsongkhapa, if you have access to Master Tsongkhapa's teaching, then you are already in the presence of Master Tsongkhapa. So we are very fortunate that we are actually kind of like studying the life of Master Tsongkhapa. And so it is like when we are studying this, we are actually kind of experiencing like it is almost like a direct experience of so it is just like when we read through the life of Master Tsongkhapa, sort of like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it takes us there, right? It takes us in that state. So it is like somehow when we actually review through the life of great spiritual masters, somehow kind of like energetically we are going there. We go, we are there. We are at that state. We are like we are on that state where it is kind of like actually happening. So that is why like it is wonderful to actually go and study and read some of these life story of the great masters. So not only Master Tsongkhapa, I think there are many great masters, right? It's kind of like who came into this world. And of course, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, it is that is their mission to help. And, they will be everywhere. So there is a one kind of like words that I remember from the ZaChoeje, like the master Gelug, who is the, sitting on the right side of the Lama Tsongkhapa, right? So the white hair, Gelug. So he said something like in the Namdel, like in the, Cosmos, like in the Namdel, Chaman Namdel, Talam Seje, Kansa get sermons on the Nyambar Gyutares, sort of like, which means, we cannot actually see where the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are. So they comes in many different form, many different, like even they, sometimes they will appear as the most difficult person. So don't underestimate the, underestimate the people around you. So, just kind of like if you sort of like do that, then it will destroy your karma like that. That is, So that is why just kind of like best way to see is we are in the presence of Lama Tsongkhapa. We are in the Pure Land. Wherever we are, the place, the time, we are already in the Pure Land, and we should recognize that. And then, once we recognize the value of this present situation of where we are as a Pure Land, then, the Pure Land experience will begin from here, not from there. Right? So, anyway, like we are very fortunate to go through the Master Tsongkhapa's life, and so I will continue. So we are on the page number 277 on this, book, right? So I don't know if you are using digital book, then I don't know which, page. In the book, then it is page. I think last time we stopped here on the Yogi of the Glorious Guya Samaja, right? And chapter is chapter 12. Okay, so then we will go here. A long retreat at Kanden Monastery. All right. So then Lama Tsongkhapa, to return to our narrative. By the time Tsongkhapa had consecrated Kanden Monastery and written his two important works on Tantra, it was 1411, and the great master was now 55 years old. He was cognizant of the prophecy he had received 6 years earlier at the hermitage of the Potra mystic Thupten Jinpa, foretelling threats to his health when he turned 57. So, accompanied by a group of some 30 close students, Tsongkhapa entered a long retreat at Kanden. During the retreat, they performed various rites for averting obstacles. Around this time, having seen Tsongkhapa's two major works on Tantra, Rendawa, who had been in retreat in Western Tibet, sent an intriguing request to his former pupil. Rendawa asked if Tsongkhapa would request the meditation deity Manjushri to provide a short experiential instruction on how to engage in practice in the most efficient manner. The result is a remarkable short instruction running to 8 folios, summarizing the entire map of the Vajrayana path to Buddhahood. Tsongkhapa sent this with another work, an instruction on the sadhana practice of the peaceful and wrathful aspects of Manjushri. On the 4th day of the 6th month in Tibetan calendar, that is June 25, 1411, recognized in the tradition as the auspicious day when the Buddha gave his first sermon in Deer Park at Sarnath. In the colophon of this text, Tsongkhapa writes, "Please do not share this with others. As for the detailed explanation I received on each of the main points, I would like to offer this when we meet in person." Alas, Tsongkhapa would never have the chance to see his beloved teacher again. A year later, in the winter of 1412, the water dragon year, Rendawa passed away at the age of 64 at the hermitage of Thopet. At the time, Rendawa was teaching Chandrakirtis, entering the middle way to a group of over 100 monks at the retreat. In accordance with his wishes, Rendawa's attendant sent Tsongkhapa the small gold statue of Manjushri seated on a silver base, which the master always kept next to him. It was accompanied by a letter and a portion of Rendawa's ashes. Tsongkhapa had a similar gold statue, so he had the two statues housed together in the altar of main prayer hall at Kanden Monastery. Perhaps Tsongkhapa wanted his and Rendawa's inseparability to be symbolized in some tangible form, even when the law of impermanence had forced the physical separation of the two on this earth. Throughout 1411, Tsongkhapa and a small group of close disciples remained in a strict retreat. About a year into the retreat, sometime in the spring of 1412, he told his student that he had so far not seen any indication that the obstacle had been cleared. One night, however, he had a powerful dream in which a stream of light stemming from the tip of his nostril, the upper end of the central channel, flowed downward into his body through the central channel. The following day, when he engaged in his meditative practice, he experienced a powerful surge of bliss permeating his entire being, an innate bliss fused with the spontaneous awareness of emptiness, the ultimate nature of reality. He had attained the true union of bliss and emptiness, direct realization of emptiness by the most subtle mind of clear light. Earlier, thanks to his realization of emptiness, Tsongkhapa had been able to spontaneously perceive everything as illusion-like, without solidity or substantial reality. Now, with this arising of innate bliss, he would perceive everything as the manifestation or play of the union of bliss and emptiness. It appears that as Tsongkhapa's meditative experience were progressing by leaps and bounds, crossing ever more thresholds, some of his imminent ill health were also becoming starker by the day. The masters fall ill at Ganden Monastery. So that is so kind of like later after that, right? In the autumn of 1412, as the new year of the water snake was approaching, Tsongkhapa called together his closest disciple and said, I do not know if I will be able to teach again and again as before. As a basis of establishing your aspiration, I would like to give explanation on each of the 4 classes of Tantra. However, the disciple begged Tsongkhapa in unison to continue to focus on countering the obstacle of his health by remaining in retreat. Thus, on the 7th day of the 8th month of the Tibetan Water Dragon year, September 22, 1412, Tsongkhapa and his closest disciple began another period of intensive retreat. Despite all their efforts, in the 11th month, Tsongkhapa began to experience the beginning sign of ill health. When the new year of the water snake, 1413, began, Tsongkhapa fell ill, just as the prophecy has warned. The chronic back pain he had suffered in his early 20s resurfaced, this time affecting much of the lower part of his body. At one point, the pain prevented him from getting a good night's sleep for almost 3 weeks. For his part, however, Tsongkhapa continued his daily meditation practice, often equipoised in the experience of the union of bliss and emptiness. As the master appeared increasingly frail, his student became alarmed and undertook a series of healing rites. Many of the Tsongkhapa's benefactors came to Ganden to see him and to sponsor ritual ceremonies for his well-being. During this period, 7 devoted students helped nurse the master: Gelug, Kedup, Thupten Jinpa, Sherpa Rinchen Gyaltse, ZaChoeje, Legwe Sangbo, and Shunu Gyaltso. Shunu Gyaltso, the youngest in the group, served as the ritual assistant during many of the healing rites. Tsongkhapa began to feel a little better, and he decided to undertake an intensive retreat on Vajrabhairawa, the wrathful form of Manjushri, that's the Yamantaka, with a special focus on visualization of protection circle and invocation of the wrathful guardians. In the evenings, Tsongkhapa would return to his equipoise on the union of bliss and emptiness. Gradually, his health continued to improve. One day, during a session on Vajrabhairawa meditation, Tsongkhapa experienced a powerful vision of a massive image of the Buddha, resplendent within a large halo of light floating up above his face. The Buddha was performing the gesture of conquering the Mara, the force of darkness. While maintaining his meditative focus, Tsongkhapa willed the image of the Buddha to enter his body and dissolve into him. This then led to a cascade of other visions, powerful protector led by Mahakala, with Kalarupa dragging the obstructive forces, which were chased by Chetrapala from behind. These obstructive forces were then brought before Tsongkhapa, where the protector sliced them into pieces and buried them inside the deep pit. With this vision, Tsongkhapa's health began to improve noticeably by the day. It was toward the end of 1413 too that Tsongkhapa received the second formal letter of invitation from Chinese Yongle Emperor. As noted before, this time Tsongkhapa sent ZaChoeje, one of his senior students, to Beijing in his state, bearing a letter and a gift for the emperor. One day in the first month of the Wood Horse year, 1414, Tsongkhapa had a vision of Manjushri. Who told him, from now on, you should concentrate your practice on the generation and completion stage of Tantra. If you do this, you will attain the realization of the highest yoga Tantra. Among your students, too, such extraordinary realization will arise in mind stream of 7 who are specially fortunate. Emerging from this long period of ill health, Tsongkhapa told his close student that perhaps he should not take this particular vision of Manjushri seriously, as it could be an after effect of his illness. Later, he would ask Thupten Jinpa, the longtime disciple, who constantly had a vision of Manjushri too, to see if he would consult the deity. Thupten said, there is no need. The deity has told the same thing to me too, about how the union of bliss and wisdom has arisen in you, and that just as clouds gather into the large cluster, all the conditions to increase the union will come to you. By the summer of 1414, Tsongkhapa had completely regained his health and had resumed writing. This was one important lukana that it needed to be filled to complete his writing on the Guhyasamaja Tantra, namely the exposition of the Root Tantra itself. Thus, in 1414, while still in strict retreat, he embarked on his final work on Guhyasamaja. As a methodical author, he first produced a critical edition to the Root Tantra and of the Chandrakirti's extensive commentary, The Clear Lamp, Pradhipa Totana. He then produced a comprehensive outline of the entire Tantra and commentary, as well as an analytic exposition of the critical points of the Tantra. Finally, he produced a detailed annotation of Chandrakirti's commentary, creating the basis for what came to be known as 4 interwoven explanation of the Tantra. Devashita, that is Tibetan we say. These are, first, Tsongkhapa's summary outline. Second, Chandrakirti's commentary. Third, the Tsongkhapa's annotation. And fourth, his analytic exposition. With these works complete, Tsongkhapa had produced a comprehensive and authoritative resource on the study and practice of this important Buddhist Tantra. Years later, the influential historical work, the Blue Annal, would remark, with respect to the successive lineage stemming from Golodzawa, Kupalhase, I perceive Podun to be the most learned. He taught the Guhyasamaja cycle to Kyongolheba, from whom the great Master Tsongkhapa received it. The latter made, in general, great contribution to the Buddha's doctrine, and in particular, it was great Tsongkhapa who made Guhyasamaja spread across the entire face of the earth. A teaching festival in Tashitoka. In the summer of 1415, woodship year, Tsongkhapa descended Kanden Mountain at the invitation of Miwan Thapa Gyaltsen to spend the summer rainy season retreat at Tashitoka Hermitage near Desathil Monastery in Wen region. He had not left Ganden since arriving in the spring of 1410 to formally consecrate the new monastery. At Tashitoka, Tsongkhapa gave various teaching to around 700 monastics, as well as numerous lay folk on Lamrim, the Madhyamika philosophy of emptiness, Pramana epistemology, Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avatara, his own hermeneutic monograph, The Essence of the True Eloquence, his commentaries on the 50 verses on the Guru, and the root to vows of Tantra, and so on. Among those attending this lengthy teaching series at the Hermitage were some of the most powerful members of the Paltu dynasty. At this Tashitoka retreat, Tsongkhapa forged connection with a number of important people who would have an impact on his legacy. It was there that he first met Gyendun Drup, 1391 to 1474, who would play a crucial role in the diffusion of Tsongkhapa's lineage in Sang province, and later would be recognized as the first Dalai Lama. So Gyendun Drup is the first, first Dalai Lama. So that is the beginning of, Dalai Lama institution actually started. So Gyendun Drup was 24 when he met with Tsongkhapa, and had come to the Hermitage from Narthang Monastery as an attendant to Semba Chenpo Kunsang. The later, already a disciple of Tsongkhapa, so Semba Chenpo Kunsang is a disciple of Tsongkhapa. Two of Gyendun Drup's teachers, Semba Chenpo Kunsang and Sherab Singki, both students of Tsongkhapa, spoke to Tsongkhapa about the young scholar's clear intellect. Gyendun Drup felt an immediate connection with Tsongkhapa and seized the opportunity to ask questions on the important points of Buddhist epistemology. Tsongkhapa, too, was impressed by the young scholar and gave him one of his spare robes as a memento. Gyendun Drup would later compose a work compiled from his notes on the lecture Tsongkhapa gave at Tashitoka on Dharmakirti's Parmana Vinischaya. For the next 3 years, Gyendun Drup would spend extended period of time at Ganden Monastery to deepen his command on Madhyamika and epistemology studies, studying at the feet of Tsongkhapa, Gyaltsab and Dulzin. So other notable figures in attendance were the meditator Gutu Repa and Ngorje Kunga Sangpo, 1382 to 1456, an important member of the Sakya Ngor lineage. It was also at this hermitage that Gol Lodzawa Shunupel, 1392 to 1481, the author of the Blue Annal, first became Tsongkhapa's student. He was 23 years old and would later compile the notes from Tsongkhapa's teaching on the 6 yogas of Naropa to produce an instruction, a manual on the practice. Later, Golotzawa would say, when it comes to not confining one's understanding merely to what one has learned, but to critically examining the text through one's own intelligence, and when it comes to everyday conduct, it is for Tsongkhapa alone that I have the deepest admiration. After another young monk who would meet Tsongkhapa at Tashitoka was Chamba Lingpa Sunam Namgye, 1400 to 75, a student at Setang Monastery who was at the time barely 14 years old. Chamba Lingpa would later emerge as a major author on 2 important Tantra, Kala Chakra and Chakra Sambara. Impressed by the young monk's composure and sharp intellect, Tsongkhapa complimented him and gave him some gifts. During this 2-month summer retreat, 2 important figures took full ordination from Tsongkhapa. One was Chenga Sunam Sangpo, the younger brother of Mewang. The other was Jamyang Choeje, the eventual founder of Drepung Monastery. The latter, who was then 36 years old, offered a pledge to Tsongkhapa that he would teach 108 volumes. It was also at this hermitage that Tsongkhapa instructed Jamyang Choeje to establish Drepung with financial support from Tsongkhapa's loyal, long-time benefactor, new governor Namkha Sangpo. After receiving this instruction, Jamyang Choeje had a prophetic dream in which a local spirit showed him the site of the new monastery and pledged to attract 5,000 monks there. In the dream, Jamyang Choeje saw himself walking across a large valley uphill where he came across a spring. Tsongkhapa was sitting next to the spring and urged Choeje to drink from it, describing as the spring of study and critical reflection. On the devotional side, it was Tashitoga Hermitage that a set of 7 revered statues of Tsongkhapa were constructed remarkably, according to some sources, by the 14-year-old Chambalingpa Sunam Namgye. Each of these 7 statues contain hair from one of Tsongkhapa's 7 head shaving while at the hermitage. These statues, about the size of the closed fist, 5-inch or so, and reputed to be consecrated by the master himself, come to be known as the Tashitoga, Tsongkhapa's icons. After a stay of over 2 months, sometime in the fall of 1415, Tsongkhapa returned to Ganden. So that is the, chapter 12, done, Yogi of the Guhya Samaja, right? And then chapter 13, Yogi of the, you can hear me, right? Okay, so you have been hearing me, right? It's okay? Okay. I thought there was some, my, camera got, all black. So I thought maybe I was just reading and you're not hearing, but somehow maybe you're all there. All right, so how is everybody doing? Okay now? So far, how is our Lama Tsongkhapa's Yogi of the, glorious Guhya Samaja? So this must be, for some of you, maybe, it is kind of Guhya Samaja is this kind of like a new word and new terms. So it is kind of like at the end of, like, it is like, little towards the end of the Lama Tsongkhapa's life, right? In this kind of like form. And so, he wrote this very extensive kind of like commentaries on the practice of Guhya Samaja. And so Guhya Samaja, it actually belongs to the from the 4 classes of Tantra, like there's 4 classes, sort of like we Tibetan we call it ZaChoeje, Juju, Nenjor Lana maybe you, like in English we translate that 4 class as a action Tantra, right? ZaChoeje, and then performance Tantra as a second, and then Yoga Tantra is the third, and then Nenjor Lana Meba means highest Yoga Tantra, or sort of like the sort of I don't know, like highest, like sometimes Lana Meba, Tibetan word Lana Meba, sort of like translate as the highest. Kind of regularly we translate as the highest, but Lana Meva, I think, mean by sort of like maybe there is a different term, like we can use sort of like Lana Meva, Lana. Unexcel or unsurpassable, like also sort of like immaculate, immaculate, Lana Meva, that is like, so sometimes, the word kind of like a highest, right? When we say highest, then it kind of gives us a different meaning, like a highest yoga tantra, right? Highest sort of like like then it is kind of putting some kind of hierarchy, right? Sort of like a kind of higher, lower kind of thing. But it is original word kind of like Lana Meva. Lana Meva means unsurpassable, or something like immaculate, right? Lana Meva. So so that fourth, Lana Meva. So that is the highest yoga tantra. So and the highest yoga tantra, like there is two class of tantra. One is actually called the father tantra, and another one is called the mother tantra, right? So this Guya Samaja, practice is part of the father tantra practice, and then Chakra Sambara is the mother tantra. So it is kind of like a father tantra, mother tantra. It's just a term that we say. So somehow it is like a like a tap share, sort of like a. Sometimes we also use like a tap means method, right? The method, skillful, right? Skillful means is like the tap, and share up is the wisdom. So there is a two kind of like a two part. So the skillful mean is the father tantra, and then wisdom is the mother tantra. So and so Guya Samaja is the practice. Actually, it's like highest yoga tantra. It is like a deity practice, but it is kind of like, as you all know, that the deity is a symbol, right? It's a symbol, like there is a figure, and then there's a color, there's a shape, and then it kind of we put it so that our kind of like a conceptual mind will kind of understand and connect, right? So because our conceptual mind kind of like use the vehicle of like five senses, right? So our kind of mental mind use the five senses. So somehow we have to use the symbol, the sound, and the shape, and the color, and the form, and the so that is why like when we put the deity, like we put the like different colors and different shape and different form like that, but like the meaning behind the skillful, sort of like a skillful means. So in the spiritual practice, like the skillful means like tapicha. So the skillful mean aspect is like if I put it in a very simple English word, then it is the kind of like the observer part, sort of like awareness part, right? The awareness part. It is like so all the kind of like love and compassion, and even like the what do you call relative bodhicitta, all these practice are considered as a what do you call skillful means. So it is like a part of a father tantra. So mostly in the Father Tantra, how can we differentiate between Father Tantra and Mother Tantra? Is in the Father Tantra, so the main kind of like main focus is, out of the kind of like two illusory body, and the illusory body is the skillful means in the highest yoga tantra, and then what do you call the vessel, clear light is the main focus of the Mother Tantra. So like so main differentiation between the Father Tantra and Mother Tantra actually came from like a kind of, it is like on the surface, Father Tantra mostly focused on the illusory body, so the bliss, like the great bliss, right? The great bliss is the main focus. And then in Mother Tantra, clear light is the main focus. So that is why main focus, clear light, which is the emptiness. So, wisdom. So wisdom is the main focus. Wisdom is the main focus. So kind of like, if I kind of roughly kind of say, what is the difference between, Guya Samaja and Chakra Sambara? Guya Samaja belongs to the Father Tantra class, and Chakra Sambara belongs to the Mother Tantra. But it like, but doesn't mean that in the Father Tantra it didn't, talks about the clear light. Of course it talks, right? But it is hidden. The clear light part is kind of like a hidden, and in the Chakra Sambara, the illusory body is kind of like a hidden. But for both practice, it is needed. So it is, we needed both sort of like, so this like illusory body and clear light sort of like understanding is a little bit kind of hard for the beginner. Kind of like it needs a lot of background understanding. So like even like in the what do you call completion stage and generation stage, so this like in the practice of the highest yoga tantra, like when we practice like a Guya Samaja, Chakra Sambara, Yamentaka, so those are like the highest yoga tantra practice. So those highest yoga tantra practice kind of like when we put it into practice, we put that in practice sort of like a first going through the generation stage, right? So once you actually go through the generation stage, and then once you are starting to experience, so you are starting to experience your divine actually quality, and then like it is, there is a like some kind of shift that happens, and then it is kind of like what you visualize doesn't remain just as a visualize or imagine. So what you imagine sort of like starting to kind of like starting to kind of starting to become like a real experience, starting to become like a real experience. So that then like it is kind of like the gross, this kind of like gross kind of like five senses, and gross mind kind of like become less important. So kind of like kind of they will go more into more subtle, so subtle form of energy, subtle form of body, subtle form of this experience is starting to kind of like activate. So there are many things that is kind of like sometimes it is kind of, we can think of like what do you call, like a computer and internet and things like that. It's kind of like there like so many potential there, But if you don't activate them, so even though it will remain as a potential, right? So sort of like if we kind of they get into different access, so then it will starting to experience different, and then it will not rely too much on the outer kind of like outer form. So that's kind of like a generation stage to completion stage. When you reach the completion stage, then somehow your subtle energy, so like we call it like the channel, right? The channel, central channel, to like starting to kind of the wind starting to enter into the central channel, and so somehow lung omar shune timsum, sort of like that is the term that we say. Lung means wind, the energy starting to enter into the central channel. So like omar shugwa never means it's starting. Shugwa means enter, and then never never means kind of remain, and then timba means dissolve, sort of like so like there are three stages. So when it enter and when it's starting to remain, then it is the beginning of the completion stage experience. So in the completion stage, they talk about the rimbanga. So there are like 5 gradual kind of path. They don't consider the first body like illus kind of what you call isolation, right? Body isolation. Body isolation experience has a sort of like a 2 aspect. One is a generation aspect, and one is completion. And then ngawe is like a speech isolation experience. And so this speech isolation experience is a very powerful experience. Actually, it is kind of like they call it speech isolation, but it is kind of like starting to working more with the energy, sort of like a wind, like from the wind. So it is there is a speech isolation, and then there is a mind isolation, 7. And so then like after the mind isolation, and then there is a like a experience of the clear light, the clear light. And then from the clear light, after you kind of directly enter into the clear light, then once you kind of get up from the clear light experience, and then you can connect with the illusory body, sort of yulu, so illusory body. So then you kind of like once you use the illusory body, and somehow then with the illusory body, you will have another experience of clear light. So that is like more powerful, more clear. So then, after that, you actually again rise in another clear light. So there is a 2 kind of clear light. In the beginning, it was mathakvekulu, sort of like impure, kind of not pure, right? Impure illusory body. And then using the impure illusory body to experience a clear light. Then after that, you kind of get, arise from that is a pure illusory body. So there's like so these different, maybe for our ordinary mind, it will be little inconceivable, but just for the information, I kind of said a little bit, because you must be wondering, Guya Samaja and Chakra Sambara, what is the main practice? So when we actually study kind of like Guya Samaja and Chakra Sambara, like these are the main thing need to actually understand. And so this is not easy, actually. Even in the monastery, many monks spend many years actually studying this. And so if some of these are kind of little bit over your head. Don't worry. All right. So I see some question here, right? Chatting. Alex, Alex is saying, since 6 yoga of Naropas are synthesis of completion stage, practice of other Tantra, is mother or father or combination? 6 yogas of Naropa is mostly kind of like it stems out from the Chakra Sambhara, Mother Tantra, because in the 6 yogas of Naropa, the main focus is Tumo. You know, Tumo is an inner fire, right? So it is kind of like it, we call it Chandali, you know, Chandali. Kind of like there is a two energy when we actually what do you call as a person, like when we actually conceived. So this two energy, like generally there's kind of like a red energy, which is actually like the fire. So they, because the color is red, and that's why they call it like a fire, like an inner fire, tumo, you know. So somehow this tumo, the energy, is kind of like a in the kind of like a body. It actually resides at the navel chakra, and so that is kind of like Chandali, you know, red Chandali. And then father energy went up to the crown chakra, and then the white essence actually goes into the crown chakra area. So somehow it kind of like a father tantra focus mostly on the crown chakra, and then mother tantra focus mostly on the navel chakra. So 6 yogas of the Narupa is the main actually practice, kind of comes from the mother tantra to actually activate the inner fire, tumo. So that is why 6 yoga is mostly, you know, kind of, it stems out. It is practiced from the Chakra Sambara and He Vajra. So Mother Tantra, yes, yeah. All right. And then Michael Dinin is saying, at mundane level, we usually equate subjective with the mind and objective with the physical. Now, the subjective is illusory body and objective is emptiness. Yes, in the Tantra, it is like that. Yeah. So, highest yoga Tantra. Is this implying mental factor become the illusory body? Mental factor become the illusory body. Maybe you can say that, but it is just kind of like all the sort of like what do you call, all the subject or the sort of subjective part, sort of like it's part of the, yes, kind of illusory, sort of illusory body, meaning sort of like a you know, observer. So it is like the observer. So does this imply clear light is a fountain or spring from which pure arises from now, when conceptualized get confusing what is what? Yeah, I think it is like a, you know, clear light is the, what you call, the base, right? It is the object, it is the emptiness, and then illusory body, subjective, it is the one that is the one that is the awareness. So, you know, other day we were talking about where the awareness meets the emptiness, right? So it is kind of like from the experience level, then what happened is there is no difference between emptiness and awareness. Awareness is the emptiness, and emptiness is the awareness. So it is kind of like the father Tantra essence and the mother Tantra essence is just basically it is a two sides of one coin. So, like if you are practicing that father Tantra, so where you are looking is you are looking at the one side of the, from the one side of the coin. So it is like you're looking at the head of the coin, right? And so when you go into look from the other side, you will see the tail side of the coin. But still, you are looking at the same coin, right? When you are picking up one coin, you are picking up the same coin, whether you are looking at from head side or the tail side. So that is kind of like a, just kind of like emptiness and awareness. Illusory body is the one that is the subjective. So emptiness is the objective. So so there is like a Yogi will say, Eugene will say, even the clear light, there is like a, subjective clear light and objective clear light. So, but subjective clear light and objective clear light, if we look it from the experience point of view, when you totally experience the clear light, then subjective clear light and objective clear light actually is no separate. It is same. But from the term, from the word conceptual, we have to use the word like a different, right? So kind of like a, if you're looking at the coin from the head, like you have the visibility of the head, but if you say, are you looking at the coin, that has the tail? Yes, right? So when you actually taking it, then it is, you are taking it, right? So you cannot actually separate the two sides of the coin. It is, so kind of like a subjective clear light and objective clear light. So if I kind of put it a simple way, so like Chakra Sambara is, kind of mainly focus on the objective clear light. And Guhya Samaja, the Father Tantra side, is the subjective clear light. So subjective clear light is the great bliss, right? But then, like, of course, objective clear light is also, like a kind of where the bliss meets the emptiness, right? Where the awareness meets the emptiness. So either way, it is, like it is just a word saying emptiness become awareness or awareness become emptiness. Right? Yeah. So if you like to look at the head side of the coin, then go for the Guhya Samaja. If you want to look at the tail side of the coin, go for the Chakra Sambara. But still, you're looking at the coin. You will experience the same coin, right? All right. Okay, so I think we will go a little bit further on this chapter 13, Yogi of the Chakra Sambara Tantra. So in the fall of 1415, following the rainy season retreat and his extended stay at Tashitoka Hermitage, Tsongkhapa returned to Ganden Monastery. He had always been a focused person, but after his return from Tashitoka, those around him noticed an additional intensity of focus in his activities. With the benefit of the hindsight, we can see that during his final 4 years, Tsongkhapa was essentially filling what he perceived to be important gaps in his life's work. One important lukana was his dearth of writing on Chakra Sambara Tantra. Another supremely important system of Buddhist Tantra. So, Chakra Sambara is a very important part of the Tantra. Perhaps Tsongkhapa had a premonition that his end was approaching. After all, it had been just over a year since he had came out of his 2-year spell of ill health, and an old prophecy had given him a lifespan of only 57 years. Whatever the cause, one couldn't help noticing a certain sense of urgency in Tsongkhapa. A few years earlier, in 1412, his own teacher Nerdawa, with whom he had remained close ever since they met in 1376, and who over time had also become a colleague, had passed away. Another important figure of his life, Loche Kyabjo Persang, the senior parsonage who made the formal request to Tsongkhapa to author his 2 grand syntheses too, was no more. More recently, Karmapa Tishinsheva, another important Tibetan religious figure to whom Tsongkhapa was close, had passed away at the age of 32. It was as if the truth of impermanence was closing in on him. The first thing Tsongkhapa appeared to have done after his return to Ganden, however, was to compose a shorter, more practice-oriented version of the magnum opus, the great treatise on the stages of the path of enlightenment. This was perhaps the easiest piece for writing he had undertaken, as it involved simply trimming down a longer work, while adding only a few new materials to the original. The original version, composed in 1402, ran to some 519 long folios, and after 13 years, Tsongkhapa had taught that text numerous times. Over time, he had come to appreciate the need for more manageable version that would contain the essence of his earlier text, while omitting the elaborate citation from the various Indian sources he used to substantiate the points he was making. The result was yet another authoritative presentation of the sages of the path, based on Atisha's instruction in terms of practitioners of the 3 progressive level of spiritual capacity, Kipusum, right? This version about 1/3 shorter than the original great treatise. So this is a Lamrim, very important work on Lamrim. So that is like at the end of his year. So very clear on, especially on the Vipassana wisdom, wisdom part. One topic found in the shorter text, but not in the lengthier version, is the explicit presentation of the true truth. Another important addition is a more explicit discussion of the status of non-mentation, So that is very important, right? Non-mentation meditation. Tome. This is a kind of deliberate and non-discursive meditative practice involving, as Asanga puts in his Sravaka levels, the absence of engagement of thoughts, Chempa Meva, and of conscious attention, Yila Cheva Meva, such that one's mind abides free from the perception of signs, devoid of conceptuality and tranquil. In his great treatise of the stages of the path, Tsongkhapa did speak of a way of cultivating tranquility that involves not taking on any external object, but rather simply abiding within non-conceptual or non-discursive state. Here, however, Tsongkhapa explore what such a non-conceptual state might entail and discuss whether it can be recognized as a genuine non-conceptual realization of emptiness, the ultimate nature of things. For example, as you rest your mind devoid of thoughts and attention, unable to link with subsequent mind movement any more then bubbles arising one after another in water, your thoughts will naturally come to cease on their own. As you continue to maintain this meditation, even the awareness of subjective experience, as well as the sense of bliss that arise, will be unable to stand on their own without your having to stop them. Just like an old skin being shed naturally by a snake, at that time, when you remain in meditative equipoise, you will have no perception whatsoever of your body, and as for the mind, you will experience a sense of its being indistinguishably fused with empty space. When you rise from the meditative state, you will feel as if you have suddenly acquired a body. For Tsongkhapa, its own such a state of non-discursive and non-conceptuality represent the attainment of tranquility focused on one's mind, but does not constitute non-conceptual realization of emptiness as understood by Nagarjuna. If, however, such a non-discursive and non-mentational state is accompanied by a genuine understanding of the truth of no self, it then becomes part of genuine path to enlightenment. So Tsongkhapa writes, with respect to the meditative state devoid of thoughts and attention, a state characterized by bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality, often referred to by phrases such as uncontrived by the intellection, lo majeva, so not made up, not constructed, lo majeva, devoid of subjectivity, zimba meva, like not holding anything. There are two kinds. One that is genuine emptiness meditation equipoise on ultimate reality, and another type that is not. It is therefore important to clearly differentiate between these two. This is because even when someone has not yet gained realization of emptiness, they still are in great danger of mistakenly thinking that they have done so. So over time, this shorter version of the stages of a path would be recognized as the middle length version. Lamrim Dingpo, we call it like a middle length. With Tsongkhapa's verses, a song of experience on the stages of path identified as the short version of the Lamrim. So Lamrim has a three, like a short version and middle length version, and then detailed version. So Lamrim Chiding Chusum, like we call it like that. So filling in the gap in the Chakra Sambhara literature, with this shorter version of his great treatise complete, Tsongkhapa turned his attention to composing a major work on Chakra Sambhara Tantra. Chakra Sambhara belongs to what is known as the Mother Tantra within the highest Yoga Tantra class. Tsongkhapa began this phase by first composing a detailed exposition of Luipa's sadhana of the meditation deity. Luipa is the master, possibly 10th century, and known also as Luipada, whose name may be translated either as a scribe or fish gut eater. So I don't know, maybe not so meaningful name. So Sanskrit word, some of these Mahasiddhas, like there is some name like, Luipa is like, it is, and there is also, Mother Tantra master like Napopa. Napopa is a Krishnacharya, so it is like a Krishna, like, so in Tibetan, like it literally, it means Napopa. Napoma means, black one, dark one, so maybe, I don't know, the skin color is dark or something. And the Luipa is a fish gutter eater. I don't know. But Master Luipa was a 10th century great Chakra Sambhara. Many of our Mother Tantra origin actually goes to Luipa. So there is a Luipa version of the Chakra Sambhara practice. Was a Buddhist mystic said to have been born into royalty. So he was also born in the royal family. Repulsed by wealth and power early on, he chose to lead the life of wandering yogi. A well-known verses of praise to Luipa reads, "A fortunate one born into the scribe caste, living on fish entrail, he attained siddhis. I prostrate to that guru who is known as Luipa." Luipa was a disciple of the great mystic Tujin Shawarippa, great Mahasiddha. All right, sorry about that. All right. Okay. Okay. Sorry about some interruption as expected. So somehow my daily usage of my phone is reached up to 100%. So that is why it got a disconnection. But then I checked back if the Wi-Fi actually came. Seems like now I'm using the Wi-Fi, so so it was maybe earlier I forget to check if the Wi-Fi has come back or not. So I was using my direct phone network. So then I didn't pay attention because that is why some blackout came on the screen on my phone saying, giving some alert, but I didn't read the alert. Okay, so where are we? So like page number 289, which include experiencing a vision, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Luipa was a disciple of great mystic Shawaripa, from whom he received his initiation into Chakra Sambara Tantra. Wandering through various places in India, Luipa eventually ended up on the bank of river Ganges in Bengal, where he lived on fish entrails. So I think, as you know, the river Ganges actually comes from the Himalaya, and then it actually goes into the India, and then through Varanasi, and then, I think where it goes into the ocean, I think from the West Bengal. So that, somehow Luipa was sitting at the, river Ganges where the Bengal, at the Bengal area, right? So he attained advanced tantric realization, which include experiencing a vision of the great Mother Tantra deity Chakra Sambara. The lineage of the Chakra Sambara practice stemming from this mystic vision came to be known as the Chakra Sambara Luipa tradition. So Luipa, that's why Luipa is one of the very important master in the Chakra Sambara lineage, which together with the two other lineage stemming from Luipa lineage, so one of Gandapa and one is Krishnacharya. So this Gandapa is in Tibetan we call to Tibuba, Tibuba, bell. Ganda means like a bell, right? So, and Krishnacharya, Nakopa, became widespread within the Tibetan Buddhism. So these three lineage or three tradition is very important in the Chakra Sambara. So there are a few very interesting stories about Master Gandapa and Krishnacharya and Luipa's kind of like a detailed stories are in the Chakra Sambara teachings here. So anyway, the introductory section of the Tsongkhapa's commentary on Luipa Sadhana entitled "Milking the Wish-Granting Cow." So it's kind of like milking the wish-granting cow. It's the title of that Luipa's, Master Luipa's wrote. Presents a remarkable survey of Chakra Sambara literature as well as an account of the transmission of the Tantra in Tibet. So there is a lot of similarity or parallel teachings between the in ancient Hinduism's what do you call Shakti practice, right? So there's a lot of similarities in that. Yeah. So just kind of if we really look at the kind of Chakra Sambara, the origin of the Mother Tantra, where Buddha Shakyamuni taught the Chakra Sambara, Mother Tantra, he actually taught it in on the, I think it is on the Mount Meru. So Mount Meru, kind of like in this present day, we can actually consider Mount Meru as a Mount Kailash, I think. So so it is somehow, like some of the tantras, have this like a Kala Chakra is actually taught in Andhra, right, in the state of Andhra Pradesh, right, in the Amravati, and then like different sort of like a different tantra, like where like there's a specific location. So somehow Chakra Sambara, like the whole Mother Tantra, the root Tantra, was taught by Buddha Shakyamuni. He manifested himself into Vajradhara. So it is, he manifested himself into the Vajradhara, and then later he, became the Chakra Sambara, and he opened the mandala of the chakra Sambara on the top of the Mount Kailash, and then somehow he kind of like invoke himself into the Dencho, which is Kolo Dencho, like chakra Sambara, or kind of like Hiruka, in the form of Hiruka with the concert. So somehow kind of like there is a very strong connection between the Shiva and I think Shiva and Parvati energy, because Mount Kailash is considered to be a main abode of the Shiva practice. So Chakra Sambara actually happens. So that is why it is actually kind of like a Chakra Sambara is a kind of emerged from the Shiva Shakti energy. So so that is why even the form of the Chakra Sambara is very exactly like a Shiva. So it is like he was carrying the Trishul, and so wearing the what do you call the lion lion skirt, and so it's kind of like a most practice, there is like a lot of similarity. So kind of like Master Luipa, Krishnacharya, Master Gandapa, Naropa, Telopa, they are all part of Chakra Sambara practitioners. So yeah. So the introductory section of the Tsongkhapa's commentary on Luipa Sadhana, entitled Milking the Wish-Granting Cow, present a remarkable survey of Chakra Sambara literature, as well as an account of the transmission of the Tantra in Tibet. The main part of the text is a detailed explanation of the generation stage of Chakra Sambara based on Luipa's lineage, including a word-by-word exposition of the mystic's own sadhana. Tsongkhapa followed up on the writing of this important work by composing two sadhana of his own. One, a lengthy meditation manual on imaginatively generating oneself into the deity, and the second, practical step-by-step manual written in a chantable liturgical style on how to engage in sadhana meditation practice of the Tantra. Second, the shorter text is still used in Gelug monasteries as a main sadhana for the practice of the Luipa tradition of Chakra Sambara. To accompany his lengthy exposition of Luipa's Chakra Sambara sadhana and his own two shorter generation stage sadhana, Tsongkhapa then composed a presentation of the completion stage of the Chakra Sambara entitled The Shivas of Attainments. The work ground of the practice of the completion stage of this Tantra on an interwoven interpretation of crucial passage from Luipa sadhanas pertaining to the completion stage and their sources in the Tantra. A special focus of the Chakra Sambara Tantra, especially what is called the great yoga of completion stage, is the evocation of innate great bliss, especially through the use of sexual yoga. Implied in this is the intriguing idea that if properly understood and tapped into, something as mundane as the sex act could hold the key to the most profound wisdom eminent within a human being. Speaking of this, Tsongkhapa quotes the following famous line from Sarahas Doha Kosakiti. Although they talk about it at home here and there, no one understands the nature of great bliss. Even so, he also points out that alternative methods exist for invoking this innate bliss without engaging in actual sexual activity. This involves various yogic techniques focused on specific chakras in the yogin's body, all aim at facilitating the entry of the wind into the central channel. In a rare sharing of what it feels like to have such an experience, Tsongkhapa writes the following. Then due to force of having applied the appropriate technique to the vital points of the body as well as the mental absorption. As you observe the tip of your nostril, you will notice that air would flow from two nostrils in a balanced manner. If this happened once or twice, you cannot take it seriously. If, however, there are no countervailing condition and the air flows from the two nostrils in an exactly equal manner with no difference at all in force and pace, then through this process, you will have the ability to experience the entry of wind into the central channel. So these are the signs, This said, such an entry occurring one does not preclude the wind flowing through either of two side channels. In any case, this marks the entry of the wind into the central channel. A point will arrive when as you observe, you will notice that even the slight movement of breath has come to cease. Now, if you find this difficult to discern, try out the following. Sit with your back straight and avoid any movement of the body, and then observe if there is a movement of your belly or not. If there is even a slight movement of belly, this is the sign that the movement of wind in the side channel still has not ceased. In the opening part of his text, Tsongkhapa explained his main reason for writing this text on the completion stage. As for the great yoga of the completion stage, according to Luipa's tradition, even today, the visualization practice based simply on the passage cited in the sadhana do exist. However, no tradition of explanation seems to exist today that is based on clear understanding of how and where all the elements of the practice are present in the root and branch text tantras of Chakra Sambara. It is most appropriate for those who are intelligent and interested and have a keen aspiration to see what the tradition of the great adept Mahasiddha might be like, to inquire into what such an explanation would look like and search for it. This tradition of Luipa is known to be at the root of Chakra Sambara Tantra practice in India. And this adept appeared is an extremely important tradition for tantric instruction. Yeah. Okay, so I see some chatting here. Okay, so Alex is saying so this is done, right? And then Ninju is saying Bhagavan, prostration, Krishna comes from Akarshana or attraction, but the Lord was born at midnight of the dark fortnight inside a prison. Okay, so that's why he was called Krishna. Therefore, another usage of Krishna is dark. Also, he was an incarnation of Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu and most of his avatar like Rama and Krishna are depicted with the dark bluish skin. It is actually supposed to depict they are as identified with the vastness as the sky. Krishna is also sometimes identified with the Mother Kali, and there the darkness stands for the source into which all will be ultimately absorbed. Yes, I think that is true, and I think Chakra Sambara. If you look at the form of the Chakra Sambara, its also color is a blue. So blue, Chakra Sambara color is a dark blue color. Yeah. And eating fish and tail may be understood as eating what was discarded in is a fish eating area, Bengal. Yes, I think that is so maybe Master Luipa named sort of like a fish gutter eater. So I think, yeah, the name came like that. Yes, that is true. Yeah. Thank you, Ninju, for that information. And so then where are we now? Tsongkhapa writes the following, right? So we already done that. In the opening part of his text, this is also done. So then, thus having composed an extensive exposition of the completion stage of chakra Sambara, just as in the stage of generation stage, Tsongkhapa wrote a short step-by-step practical instruction on how to engage in the completion stage practice of deity, entitled A Succinct Guide to the Stages of Completion of the Great Yoga of Chakra Sambara, according to Luipa tradition. The main section of the guide is in structure into discussion of, first, how to cause the entry of the wind into the central channel. Second, how to engage in the stages of completion following the entry of the winds into the central channel. And third, how to correlate the stages of the chakra Sambara path with the 6 yoga of Kala Chakra and 5 stages of the Guya Samaja. This comprehensive guide to the most advanced practice of the chakra Sambara system is written in a lucid instructional style and peppered with surges of insight rooted in personal experience. Indeed, the Succinct Guide is a remarkable handbook for any yogi dedicated to making chakra Sambara the principal focus of their meditative practice. The next set of the writing Tsongkhapa undertook focus on the cycle of chakra Sambara practice, according to Gandapa, another Indian yogi instrumental in the propagation of this particular Tantra. Gandapa was born a prince, but later gave up his royal life to become a monastic at Nalanda monastery. He eventually became a disciple of the mystic Harikaba, who was himself a disciple of Luipa. A specialty of Gandapa's particular lineage is sophisticated body mandala in the Chakra Sambara. Meditation that involve visualizing the meditator grosser body as an external mandala and the subtler dimension of the body, the channel and the element that flow within them as a deity of the mandala. Tsongkhapa first composed a sadhana of Gandapa's Chakra Sambara body mandala, then follow it up with the instruction on how to perform the rite to enter the mandala and receive the empowerment. The colophon of the second text stated that it was written at the request of Gelug, most probably Tsongkhapa's student and future biographer Gelug. Tsongkhapa says that he wrote the text after having familiarized myself with the Chakra Sambara root Tantra itself and numerous Indian work, including especially all the treatises of the great Siddha connected with this cycle of Tantra. Tsongkhapa speaks of taking the tradition of the Sakya master as his main basis and complementing it with insight from the writing of other Tibetan masters. Tsongkhapa then took on the task of producing an authoritative work on the completion stage of Chakra Sambara according to Gandapa tradition. He produced a word-by-word explanation of Gandapa's short text, the 5 stages of Chakra Sambara, Shri Chakra Sambara Padana Karma, entitled Opening the Eyes to View the Hidden Meaning, indicating how the central aim of Gandapa's short text is to help open the eyes of meditators so as to see the profound practice of Chakra Sambara completion stage. Just as his later writing on Guya Samaja, where Tsongkhapa would refer to himself in the colophon as Yogi of glorious Guya Samaja, here too, his later work on Chakra Sambara, he called himself a widely read monk and yogi of Chakra Sambara by the name of Easterner Tsongkhapa Losantapa. Then a guide to the 6 yogas of Naropa. So I think then today we will stop here. I think this chapter will have another few pages. Yes. And Melissa is saying, a book says Luipa may have been 10th century, wondering why they weren't sure. Is it because he was a wandering yogi? Yes, I think some of the yogi sort of like it may have been not sure because they are like wandering. They are wandering yoga. Sometimes Luipa is kind of a great mystic. Sometimes they appear in a different time and different era too. So there's no kind of when this kind of wandering yoga yogis actually kind of like it is difficult to pinpoint their actually exact time in the history. So that is why I think they call it might be, Luipa may have been. So maybe it is around the 10th century, not exactly known date. Yeah. All right. So I think next week we might complete that chapter 13. Chapter 14 is finished. Then we have another more chapter. So we are almost completing master series, Lama Tsongkhapa life. All right. Then Mary is having general question. I have caught myself worrying a lot lately. Is engaging in worry and negative karma. Engaging in worry. I think we all do have anxiety. So sometimes, our mind will make different stories. And then if we kind of like get carried away and kind of identify ourselves with the stories, then I think it will kind of like we will get carried away. And so it is just kind of like normal for many of us. So I will not say too much negative karma. Sometimes we just kind of get carried away unconsciously. So I think if you caught yourself getting carried away, it's a good sign, right? Sometimes we don't even catch ourselves how we are actually getting carried away. So I think maybe just kind of acknowledging it, recognizing it, noticing it, and then like this kind of like anxiety, worry, when it comes, just kind of like practice, like if you feel anxiety, then don't identify yourself with an anxiety. It's just one pace of life. It is just one part of you. Your whole being is not inside that anxiety. So just kind of like practice being like a sky. You are the one who is like a sky, and your anxiety and your worry, your fear is just one small aspect of experience in your life. So just let your anxiety and worrying kind of like a flow through you, but don't let yourself identify with it. Like on our Wednesday talk, I also kind of give some suggestion on building the inner strength, right? It is kind of like being like a sky, sort of like when you are angry, sort of like we always, when we feel angry, we say, I am angry, right? I am angry. Like we totally put ourselves into the angry situation, and we identify ourselves as an angry person. So that is kind of a little bit, if you put yourself in that way, then it will kind of lead you into performing many negative karma. But you still can sort of like keep it. Like when you feel anxiety, don't identify yourself with the anxiety. You are the one who is aware of the anxiety, right? So you are being aware of the anxiety, but you are not the anxiety. Anxiety is just a part of it. It is a very small part of you. So if you put yourself totally whole being into the anxiety, then it will be difficult. So kind of remember that, all right? And then David is saying, Rinpoche, do you know if it is traditional to do tanka of the three figures of Manjushri, Vajrapani, Chenesi with the Tsongkhapa at the top? Yes, I think it is, maybe this is kind of common in Tibetan. So there will be, I think there must be many. So I will consider, but I don't exactly remember, but I've seen many tankas, so I might have seen some of these, because kind of like in the middle, Sum, the Tsongkhapa with the two of his son, Jessup and Kidup, and on the top, the like the Riksum Gombo, which we call Riksum Gombo, Manjushri, Cheresi, and Vajrapani. And then Kivusum Gesuma, so also on the lower side of the tanka, you can put three protectors, right? So I have a tanka here, doesn't have the the Riksum Gombo, but I have sort of like this. So if you can see, you can see here, right? So if you see this, this tanka I have is in the center is the Lama Tsongkhapa with his two sons. And then on the top, actually, on the top in the middle, it is Guya Samaja. And then Yamentaka on the right, and then Chakra Sambara on the left of the tanka. So so these three highest highest yoga tantra, sort of like we can put it like that. So you can also put the Tsongkhapa there, and then three kind of like a Cheresi in the middle, and then Jambeyang, and the Manjushri on the two side. And then like a lower, you can see this three protector, so this protector, and the center one is Namse, so it is the form of Zabala, but it's not Zabala. So Namse, we call it like a, I don't know in Sanskrit what it's called, wish or something. And then Pandem Hamo, it is Kali Devi. And then another one is Kala Rupa. Kala Rupa is a, protector in the Yamentaka practice, right? So we actually kind of like had a tanka like that too. Yeah. So I think there should be some tanka with the three main, Cheresi, Vajrapani, and like that too. Yeah. All right. Okay, so have a wonderful rest of the evening, and must be late. Rest, and so stay safe, stay warm. All right. All right. Thank you then. All right.